Hello guys, welcome to my channel, and this is the part 2 of the CI/CD deployment through Azure. And right now we have set up the Azure repositories, and let's move ahead and set up the pipeline and do the deployment to the Salesforce org. Alright guys, so now the journey is getting a little bit complicated. So we have to create a connected app now. So the purpose of connected app is you can connect your Azure with Salesforce. This is how the Azure CI/CD and deployment will be talking to the Salesforce environment. So to do so, before we go and create the connected app, we need a server.certificate to be put into the connected app. So I have created a video on that, and I'll provide that in the description as well. It will be somewhere above here as well. The link will be showing up. And let me walk you through as well, because this is a video where I'm doing each and everything. So this is where my openssl is. If you go through the video, it will be in much more detail, but this is just I'm doing right now. Go to the bin location, open the command prompt here, and I have to do one by one all these steps. Step number 1 is done. Step number 2 is done. Make sure this openssl config location is correct. So I have already done that. If you go through that other video, you will surely know all of this. Don't have to be worried what I'm doing now. So country name I'll provide as IN. State I'll give WB. Locality name I'll give as school. Organization, you can provide your organization name, the client name, the project which you are working on. I'll give as Azure Test. Organizational unit name, you can provide anything. Make sure you provide all the valid values. I'm just providing random values right now. Password, I'll skip this part. You can press enter. Option company name, that also I'll press enter. So step number 4 is done, and finally step number 5, where it will generate me the server.certificate and server.key files. Awesome, it's done. Let's check whether it is done or not. You can see these files are created in today's date. At this time, we have server.certificate and server.key. So yeah, next step is let's go to Salesforce. It's not like from a setup, go to App Manager, and on your top right, there's an option to create new connected app. Click on that. Provide the details. Again, provide some proper values and provide logos and other things. Click on Enable OAuth settings, and in the callback URL, provide this value. I'll be providing all of this in the description as well. And after you have provided that, click on Use Digital Signatures and click on choose file. Now you have to select the openssl these server file which we generated, server certificate. I'll go and I'll select the server.certificate file. And once you select that, there are four options. I've already selected them. Four options which you need to select. First one will be access the identity URL service, ID, profile, email address, and phone. Next will be manage users data via API. Third will be manage users via web browsers. And finally, perform request at any time, refresh token and offline access. Make sure you select these four values and add it on the right side. This is very important. And click on save. Right now it is creating your connected app. I'll click on continue. And we have our connected app. Click on manage consumer details. So now we have our consumer key. This is a very important thing which we will need in our script to put in. I'll keep it noted somewhere. And we'll use it later. So our connected app is done. Next step will be go on manage. Click on edit policies. In this OAuth policies, change the permitted users to admin approved users are pre-authorized. Click on OK. Scroll down and save. Again, scroll all the way down in profiles. Whatever your DevOps user or the user which you are using, the profile value it is having. I'll give as system administrator because my user is system admin. Click on save. 99% of the time it will be system admin only. And we are done creating with the connected app. Now we are in the final stage, which is to define the azure-pipeline.yml file. This is our script which is going to interact with Azure. It is telling Azure what all it needs to execute so that it will be able to get into Salesforce and do our deployment and what to deploy and where to deploy. So all of that details is going to be provided here. So let's create it. I'll be providing this entire text in the description. Make sure you save it as azure-pipelines.yml. You rename it. So let's start from the top. So we can keep, so if you have multiple branches, you provide all of those names here. Right now, I'm just concerned with test branch and main branch. So I'll just keep as test and main. These are the parts which I'm excluding. You can ignore that as well. Then there are different stages. So if you have multiple environments, multiple sandboxes, multiple Salesforce instances where you are doing the deployment, you can have multiple stages. For me, I have only one stage, which is the test Salesforce org, where I'm trying to deploy. I provided a condition called if the deployment is succeeded and the name of the branch equals to test, which is our current branch, then only the job will execute. So it is just a check that the script, which is part of the test branch, if there is any code commit in the test branch, deployment will start in that. The next part is jobs. So I'll name it as deploy test org. Next step will be task. Here we are defining the node tool and the version because we need to use the npm install. So what we are doing is we are installing the Salesforce CLI. Salesforce CLI is the build tool here for any SFDX deployment. So we need the latest SFDX, right? So we are installing the Salesforce CLI in the VM where this job is running. And once it is installed, what we are doing is we are setting up some parameters and then we are executing sfdx command to authorize a Salesforce org. So we have written as sfdx force source auth grant minus minus client ID. So here we are asking for the client ID. Client ID will be the consumer key which we have noted down. I'll copy it. And right now, since it's a very basic pipeline, just to make you guys understand, I'm pasting it here. Ideally, these are very sensitive information, so better you save it in variables in Azure. Next is it is asking for where my JWT key file will be. So JWT key file means the server.key file. So I have provided it as bin inside bin, the server.key file will be there. So let's go back to my openssl. I'll copy this server.key file and then I'll go to our repo location. So if you're confused, this is our repo. This is our test branch. I'll click on show in Explorer. This is our initial code setup. And in our script, I have defined as inside a bin folder, the server.key will be. So I'll create a bin folder and inside it, I'll paste server.key. That's all you have to do. So this part is done. Then it is asking for username, the username who will be doing the deployment. So it will be ideally a DevOps user, which is a system admin. It has all the access and permission sets. So right now, let me go to my Salesforce org and check my username. So this is my username. I'll paste the value here. Then it is asking me for instance URL. So if it is a production, it will be login.salesforce.com. If it is a sandbox, it will be test.salesforce.com. If it is a custom URL, you can provide the custom URL as well. For now, yeah, I can simply copy and paste from here. And I've provided the custom URL, or I could have provided login.salesforce.com as well. And it is asking for an alias. You can skip this. So ideally, this command should authorize me into the Salesforce org. Just showing that it is displayed like that as well. And finally, the command which will do the deployment. So here I have provided sfdx force source deploy, and the parameter which it is taking is force app. So the path force app, just to show you guys in our repo, there is a folder called force app, and inside that force app we have our entire code base. So make sure that you provide this detail correctly, and whatever is inside our force app folder will get deployed against the Salesforce org. So currently we are deploying in my test org. That's why I have authorized my test org, and then I'm deploying to the same content of the force app. It is asking me for the username parameter. It will be the same as what I have provided in the authorized query. Copy and paste it. So all these variables right now I have just hard coded in the script. Make sure if like since these are confidential information, you create a variable through Azure. We can do that, by the way, and store that there. So I think we are ready with our YML file. And now what I'll be doing is I've saved it in my desktop. I'll copy this one and again I'll put it in the location of my repo. So my location of the repo is this one. And in this location, make sure you don't put it inside some folder. In this location, you just paste the azure-pipeline.yml file. It should be any, you can provide any name, .yml, because that is how Azure is going to identify it. So in our repo, it is telling me that I have added two new files. One is the YML file and one is the server.key. You should be also getting these two right now. And I'll tell that YML and server.key committed. Click on commit and push origin. If you don't push origin, it won't reflect in our online repository. So you want to see what is the state of our repository? I'll click on branches. Click on test because that is the branch where we pushed all the changes. You can see the entire structure, whatever we have pushed right now. Including the Azure pipeline file, and inside bin there is server.key, and in our force app our entire code base. Okay, now we are done setting up with the connected app. We are done setting up with all the initial commit which we have to do through Azure, and the final step is we have to run this thing. Now that's where we'll go to pipelines. Once you go to pipelines, click on create pipeline, and here, which is amazing, you can select any kind of Git repo. So right now we have committed in our Azure Git repo only, so we will be selecting this. But if you suppose don't have the license for Azure DevOps repos and your client is using some third-party tool like GitHub or Bitbucket for version control Git repos, you can select that as well. So right now I'll just select the first one because I have pushed my code in Azure repo only. This is the repo name which is present in our project. Click on this. So it is asking me, do you want to create a new pipeline from scratch or you want to select an existing which is in this repo? Just now I have pushed my YML uh, pipeline file in the repo. I'll select the second option. You can select the first as well if you have not pushed it. I'll recommend to push it and then click on the second one. It is asking in which branch that YML file is. I'll select as test because in main there is nothing. It is asking me for the path. Yeah. By default it is showing me this, so you can just select it because it has identified a YML file and then click on continue. So it is able to identify this YML file and then we have to just click on run. Now since my stage name is not proper, I will have to update it. So I'll go to my repo, click on show in Explorer. I'll open the Azure YML file. And yeah, I understood the mistake. I have given space in stage name. Click on save. In your GitHub desktop, it will show the difference. Click on commit, push. So as soon as I push, according to my script, a new build should start in Azure. How do we check that? Click on pipelines, and it is showing as queued in blue, so, which is a good thing. And you can click on that, and it is showing as failed. Let's click on this. So since it's a free project and there was no host which will run the job for me, it has asked me to fill out a form so that I'll be granted a free free job. So that's why I got this error. If you have your client's Azure DevOps, probably you won't face this issue and the job will run. Alright guys, so we have done the setup till setting up the pipelines, and if you are not using a demo free Azure account, your deployment might already be running right now if you are using your client's Azure. So we'll see in our next video where we will be fixing the issue which we are getting for the parallel job running. And and thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next video. Thank you.